Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturбhuः ma te sangostu akarmani. Let me at the outset tell you the wrong meaning about adhikara which we have brought about in our system. You know, if somebody becomes adhikari, officer, we think that he is eligible for certain privileges. Immediately he will say, what are my privileges? The word adhikara in the traditional sense is meant for giving you the eligibility conditions. So if you want to be eligible for knowledge, you should have the performance of your duties as your eligibility condition. Karmani eva te adhikaraha. Today we talk about the rights and the privileges. See, Human Rights Commission. Have you ever seen any Human Duties Commission? Because duties are more important than rights. Unless everyone performs the duties, the rights will not be fulfilled. So unless everyone performs duties, the rights will not be fulfilled. It is not only my performance of my duty, but the other one performing his duties, then the rights of everyone would be automatically fulfilled. But if you say that my rights are not honored because that fellow has not performed the duty, you ask the question whether you have done your duty to honor the rights of the other person. So this kind of dichotomy between rights and duties and the compulsions of these two being considered in a complementary fashion has not yet dawned in our system. Even in our Shastras, the adhikara is used as Shamadamadi adhikara sampannasya om athato brahma jidnyasa is the first sutra. Atha, anantaram, afterwards. After what? After getting eligibility. Shamadamadi adhikara sampattanantaram ataha mokshakya phala sadbhavat om brahmanaha jidnyasa kartavya iti seshaha. That is the meaning of the first sutra of Brahma Sutras, which is supposed to give us the knowledge.
So we should consider rights only as shadows of our duties.
Absolutely, yes, I would consider. But over obsession and over emphasis on rights has made our system totally distorted, perverted and impractical. You don't emphasize whether everyone has performed his duties. And so karmanyevadhikaraste means your job is to perform your duties. Then only you are eligible for your rights. Ma phaleshu kadachana. Again, some of the commentators have brought out that the word phaleshu is in plural, whereas karmani is in singular. Because the phalas of an activity come from the karmas of several people. If you are in a factory, you do a particular karma of maybe turning the lathe or accounts job or management job, anything. But to claim you are for all the phalas of the corporate sector is totally incorrect. So ma phaleshu, the plural indicates that the rewards of an activity come from the karmas of several people. So don't try to claim all the rewards to you. You will be rewarded unto the extent to which you have made contribution. Arjuna immediately says, Krishna anticipates this, saying that then all right, I don't do any karma. So he says, Mate sangostu akarmani. Then later on he elaborates to say that the status of akarma, not doing anything, is totally impossible in life. Even we wink our eyebrows, we breathe, we eat food, we are always engaged in some karma or the other. So he makes a distinction between karma, akarma and vikarma to bring out the role of karma in our life. So mate sangostu akarmani. This famous sloka gives to us a profound work culture. If we elaborate, we can even write a PhD thesis on this sloka itself to show how there are problems in our everyday life, problems in our corporate sector, problems in our office, in our judiciary system, governance system, why we are getting into the problems. That is because people are not performing their duties and they are more. Immediately he says that how you should perform your karma. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddha siddho samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. At the time of performance of your duties. So yogasthaha, so the commentators Raghavendra Swamigalu says, jnana yogasthaha, That means whenever you are doing your karma, always give emphasis on what learning you are going to get, what additional knowledge you are going to get. So later on when Krishna Paramatma says that Sarva karma akhilam partha jnane parisamapyate, later on a sloka comes which says that all the work ends up with jnana. Does not mean that whatever work we do will generate jnana. So Rayaru in that commentary, Raghavendra Swami Galu says, jnane prapte parisamapyate safali bhavati. Only when, while you are doing your karma, whether it is an office work or study or service to the nation, whatever work you are doing, you always aim at getting some value addition of knowledge. Only when you make value addition in your knowledge box, your karma becomes safala. It becomes very productive. So it is again, once again, very profound work culture being narrated.
That
there.
is nothing but development.
Development, yes. You should have used the karma as a vehicle for your personality development. Very trivial example. When the car was coming at the end of the rolling scheme, and at the end they were supposed to check all the parts, and there was a handle there, and you hold the handle and check all the parts. So, but the handle did not have rubber lining. The worker working on that, he said, sir, we must have, no, there they don't say sir or something, everything but is equal, you know. So he said this handle should have rubber lining, so that even by mistake it touches the body of the car, there are no scratches on it. So nobody would have imagined this as a very profound suggestion. So while doing your work, think of the broader perspective of your corporate sector, add knowledge. This is meant by participation of the workers in the corporate entity, not by making workers sit in the white collared body in the air conditioned room and say that I have now become part of the management of the corporate sector. Give provision, opportunity for everyone to make suggestions and involve in the work that he is doing to improve the quality.
Reaches the peaks at that time.
Yes, that's right. Concentration reaches the peak and the product development takes place in that process. Personality development takes place in that process. So he says that the performance of karma as a yoga sthaha, yoge sthitaha. Yoga means jnanopaya. You must always do your work with the objective of acquiring additional knowledge. Of course, you may ask the question, what kind of additional knowledge Arjuna would have while performing the yuddha. But this is general principle of performance of duties. And then siddha siddhyoho samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Yoga, upaya for jnana and karma is equanimity. That framework of mind would enable you to be more efficient, to be more productive, to be more involved, to have peace of mind, avoidance of stress in your mind, avoidance of stress in the environment. Then you will be able to create the right kind of atmosphere for happiness. Durena hyavaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddhau charanamanvicha kripana phalahetavaha. Then he says ultimately, as a very sort of effective message to him, yadate mohakalilam buddhir vetitarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam srotavyasya srutasya cha. This again is a very important sloka of this second adhyaya, which says that when the kalmasha which has come in your power of reasoning, in the process of your logic, goes away, that is removed, then only you will be able to know whatever I am going to say, and then whatever people had told you earlier, whatever kind of messages they had given, you will smell. So later on, at the end of this entire Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna says, Nashto mohaha smritir labdha tvat prasadan maya chuta. So whatever you had said in the beginning is very correct. I was afflicted by moha. That moha has gone by your prasada, and I will be able to do whatever you have asked me to do, and I will do it. But Krishna is not dogmatic. He says, yethechasi tatha kuru. Vimrashayata taseshena yethechasi tatha kuru. Krishna Paramatma gives the model of analysis, the variables of analysis, the approach for the analysis, for the philosophy of life. And then he says to Arjuna, do whatever way you consider as appropriate. Do you think that Krishna was very autocratic or very aggressive in saying do this only? So that should be the approach of the psychological advisor or even the CEO of a company.
Person-centered approach. Client-centered or person-centered approach?
Person-centered approach.
Somewhere in this context, the word sthita prajna
Yes.
is used,
Yeah,
and this word, does it refer to a perfect personality like Sri Krishna, or a personality which is going to be perfect like Arjuna?
No, definitely you ask, I was just about to come to that. That is the last part of this one, when Krishna has emphasized the role of knowledge, and he also says what should be the contours of knowledge, just as he has said what should be the modality of performing karma. He says, he has used the word that pursuing knowledge is much better than the pursuit of karma. So he creates a little confusion in the mind of Arjuna. Then if that is so, I will go to an ashrama and acquire knowledge. He said, no, you have misunderstood. What I have said is the framework of mind, as sthita prajna, as he uses the term, is required to enable you to perform your karma in the most efficient manner. So Arjuna here, Krishna allows Arjuna to ask a specific question. Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhisthasya keshava sthitih kim prabhashita kimasita vrajeta kim. Sthita prajna, as per the traditional definition, is aparoksha jnani. Sthita prajna yasya saha. But again, if we take the mundanized version or meaning of this word, it means the one whose buddhi, his power of reasoning, is very stable, is unwavering, is very fixed. So that person who has not wavered his power of reasoning to get into wrong reasonings is called as sthita prajna.
Balanced personality.
Yes, balanced, composed,
Standard of mind.
yes, equanimous thinker. So he asked the question, you told me to be sthita prajna, almost like that. And what are the qualities, what are the attributes, how do I get into that mode? Give me some practical tips to it. The word bhasha, and again commentators say bhasha may mean just lakshana, but here bhashyate anaya iti bhashya, vyavahiyate. Tell me some practical implementable qualities or attributes of a sthita prajna. Yes, I ultimately want to be an aparoksha jnani. I want to have my buddhi or power of reasoning properly stable. But what do I do for that? Again, I may be tempted to tell you, I would like to go to an ashrama. He says, no. Your own life, in everyday life, you can adopt a particular orientation, then you can become sthita prajna. Again, as you rightly asked, is the most profound part of this chapter, which tells you about emphasis on karma yoga, but also emphasis on your knowledge acquisition and the focus of the framework of knowledge. You see, prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan atmanyevatmana tushtaha sthita prajnastadochyate dukheshu anudvigna manaha sukheshu vigatasprihaha vitaraga bhaya krodhaha sthitadhir muniruchyate yas sarvatranabhisnehaha तत्तत् प्राप्य शुभाशुभम नाभिनंदति न द्वेष्टि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता यदा संहरते चायं कूर्मो अंगानि व सर्वशः इंद्रियाणि इंद्रियार्थेभ्यः तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता. तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता. प्रज्ञा मीन्स बुद्धिर्मनीषाधिषणा धीः प्रज्ञा सेमुषी मतिः बुद्धि. It is प्रतिष्ठिता means it is stable, it is well entrenched, it does not have any wavering. So when does that happen? When you give up all your temptation, manogatan kaman prajahati. Prajahati means ohaktage. Prajahati atmanyevatmana tushtaha. This again is the most important feature of a sthita prajna. He should be self-contented. Today's agony, misery, trouble, problem, challenges are due to our lack of contentment, self-contentment. We are always aspiring to get more and more. I will come to that when in the next adhyaya he says kamayesha krodhesha rajoguna samudbhavaha mahashano mahapapma vidyayini miha verinam. The problems of the world today is because of the unsustainable consumption craze. The lack of contentment in our attitude has created this craze for more and more. Even among the economic theory, there are many economists who say that the world welfare, the human welfare will increase when we keep our demands controlled That's what Gandhiji said, there is enough in this world for the needs of everybody, not for the greed of everybody. So that principle is stated here when Sthita Prajahati Yada Kaman Sarvan Partha Manogatan Atmanyeva Atmana Tushtaha Sthita Prajnas Tadochate. It does not mean that don't progress or don't grow or don't. If you want to produce more, make it available to the rest. For you, only what is required for your bare existence would be useful. But beyond that, only maybe all right. Some people give more comfortably than the other. But acquiring money and prosperity and limitlessly is creating all sources of corruption.
Earlier, it was not written. It was not used to write like pure drinking water.
Pure
Nowadays, we happen to write pure drinking water. So everything is getting adulterated.
Polluted, yeah.
Yes.
That is because our approach to life has become totally perverted. The Ishavasya Upanishad says, Ishavasyamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjithaha magratha kasyasvidhanam. The main message of this work in Ishavasya Upanishad is that you should control your craze for more and more. You take whatever is legitimately given to you by God. That means whatever is necessary for your bare existence. Beyond that, you produce, but make it available to the rest of the society who need it more. And that is our basic principle of conserving the resources. In ancient Indian scriptures, in our Vedic scriptures or Puranic scriptures, there is a prescription not to cut the trees. If you cut the trees, you have to plant 2 trees. There are actually specific prescriptions. No, now of course in Tirupati we have got Vriksho Rakshati Rakshitaha, Dhammo Rakshati Rakshitaha, but I feel more implementation of that slogan. Of course TTD is doing quite a lot of good work on that. So this Sthita Prajnatva is aimed at motivating you sustainable consumption. Then yes, Dukkheshu Anudvigna Manaha Sukheshu Vigataspraha Vitaraga Bhayakrodhaha Sthitadir Muni Ruchyate. Then there is the one example that is given. As I said, Krishna is very fond of giving analogies. He says, Yada samharate chayam kurmongani va sarvachaha indriyani indriyarthebhyaha tasya prajna pratisthita. His knowledge, his power of reasoning is stable, is firm, is entrenched in firmness, in stability when he withdraws from all temptations. Which is the example given here? Kurma. When the tortoise, if you have any time touched the tortoise, you will realize there are 2 types of tortoise. Tortoise with soft back, tortoise with hard back. Both of them are having this aptitude. You touch them, the hard tortoise withdraws its angas to such an extent, you can even throw it as a ball. I mean, you can just, nothing happens to it. So he gives the analogy, whenever you have the attractions, the motivations, temptations, you withdraw your indriyas. Why are you going and getting into them? Later on he says that all these vishayas are outside of you. Why do you get in touch with them, allow them to give you the signals of thoughts and get disturbed? You keep yourselves away from the vishayas. Yada samharate chayam kurmaha angani va sarvachaha indriyani indriyarthebhyaha. Don't look at a very beautiful damsel. You don't get into the mood of doing anything wrong. And don't get into comparing yourselves with the most rich person. You don't get into the mood of acquiring that.
If that dukkha is hidden in oneself, and then gradually that person may become like a what you call volcano with fire inside, and when it all of a sudden bursts opens, and it may be very, very harmful to the society.
You must care for the words here. Dukkheshu anudvigna manaha. You can cry, you can shout, you can say anything, but don't allow your mind to get into a negative thinking orientation. Udvega.
Yes, yes.
So in the situations of dukkha, if you feel like killing someone and go and kill, no. Dukkheshu anudvigna manaha. You feel like throwing everything in the house, destroying, burning many papers and shouting at everybody. That is udvega of manas. But you can express your agony but use it as Arjuna's Vishada became the source for his productive orientation. Use that, what it states is, in fact the commentaries say that Sukha Dukkha Same Kritva. See, Dukkha is Anupadeya, is not acceptable to us. So you consider situations of, again Sukha means Vishaya Sukha, Sukha means excessive Sukha, craze for more and more of pleasure, not happiness, more and more of pleasures, you consider that as not very good, decriable. So everywhere you must interpret the words and the context. I agree, he must burn out, he must express his agony, he can cry to his fullest extent, but don't allow the mind to be affected by that, and keep your mind in composure. You see, many times we have seen many people saying that when there is calamity, where there is God, where there is Guru, all that is nonsense. This is udvega of manas. It may happen for a little time, we can say that, but soon try to bring it back to the composure. That is again sthita prajna. Prajna will have to be kept in a status of composure by vita raga bhaya krodha. If udvega of the manas leads in you raga, bhaya and krodha, many times when you are in dukkha, the bhaya comes in, the krodha comes in, raga to acquire more and more comes in. So avoid those things. That is the message here. Keep a composed mind. It does not mean that you should remain inactive. You must not remain unresponsive to situations. You can respond. I have example of some yogis. So somewhere a lot of theft took place in the ashrama of a guru, and everyone was upset, and he started saying that this person is responsible, that person is responsible. I happened to give a ring to that sannyasin or yogi from Delhi. He says, it's all right, that object seemed to have belonged to him and he has taken, so why should I worry? It's a situation we should accept in equanimity. So you don't allow, there are many saints in our midst who do not allow their mind to be upset. So everywhere we must infer the proper messages out of it. Krishna Paramatma has a big task of motivating Arjuna to perform his prescribed duties, and now he is on a higher plane of telling Arjuna as to how he should perform his duties, in what modality, what framework of mind. And through Arjuna, of course, we must always remember, he is telling every one of us about the performance of duties. He is in fact giving to us a very profound work culture, theory of work culture, which nobody in the world, even today in the modern labor reforms descriptions or psychology descriptions, in my opinion, or to the extent I know about them, they contain such profound principles. So he says, after convincing Arjuna that he must perform his prescribed function, he is now telling what kind of mindset, what kind of knowledge base is required for him to perform his functions very effectively, productively and purposefully, so that he becomes happy, the rest of the world becomes happy, and human welfare is achieved to a large extent.